week, What the Papers Say, is presented by Quentin Letts of the Daily Telegraph.
Good evening. Or for viewers in Zaire this week, perhaps not such a good evening.
Britain's told to keep out of Zaire as pulp virus toll reaches 170.
Plague worse than AIDS turns bodies to water.
Teams of experts equipped with protective spacesuits were preparing yesterday to investigate and contain the suspected outbreak of the Ebola virus, which has claimed 170 lives in Kikwit, a city of 185,000 in Zaire.
Yes, it was time for another
Killer plague.
Killer bug.
It had been too long since we had the flesh-eating bug scare in England and bubonic plague in India. However, this
Horror bug!
was even better because
Ebola is the real-life model for the doomsday virus in Outbreak, a Dustin Hoffman film now showing in Britain.
surely Hollywood's publicity chiefs had gone too far this time. The Daily Mirror seemed to think we are still living in the age of the telegram.
Alert to all British ports! Alert to all British ports!
Keep out the killer bug.
It's more deadly than AIDS. It turns bodies to mush.
British ports went on Do Watch Alert last night to keep out one of the most deadly bugs known to man.
By Mark Dowdney, foreign editor.
Or should that be Dr. Dowdney?
1 million times more contagious than AIDS. The bug turns the body's internal organs to liquid mush. The dead include 2 Italian nuns. The deadly Ebola virus is classified as a level 4 pathogen, 1 step up from AIDS. There are 13 known bugs graded level 4.
According to Professor Dowdney, these include
Ebola itself, death rate 88%. Reston emerged in monkey laboratory. Junin carried by field voles, fatal.
field bowls, eh? Nasty. When a big story like this breaks, you can normally expect Fleet Street's ace foreign reporters to reach the scene of the story within hours. Getting there is half the skill. This time, curiously, there seems to have been a shortage of volunteers to enter,
Africa's hot zone of death.
and it took almost a week for the foreign boys to get there. The story was left chiefly to the science correspondents, those bespectacled boffins who normally only get to write about the ozone layer.
Killer virus spreads as quarantine efforts fail.
By Steve Connor, science correspondent.
Hang on, what on earth was that in the picture?
An electron micrograph of the Ebola virus at a magnification of about 100,000. The virus similar in many respects to the agent responsible for green monkey disease.
Remember green monkey disease? A classic of the killer virus genre from earlier years. However, the independence diagram of the Ebola virus was not quite the same as that in The Observer. And the Sunday Telegraph also entered the freak show with a happily timed general feature on
Invasion of the superbugs.
For Fleet Street, the impression of expertise was all that mattered, plus gory details, lots.
Ebola dissolves body tissue until organs turn to pulp and blood pours from every orifice.
You needed to have digested your breakfast poached egg before reading the Sunday Times.
The only sound is a choking in the victim's throat as he continues to vomit while unconscious. Then comes a sound like a bedsheet being torn in half.
Understatement was taken to art form by The Independent.
The surface of the tongue turns brilliant red and then sloughs off and is swallowed or spat out. It is said to be extraordinarily painful to lose the surface of one's tongue.
But however horrid it sounds, at least this killer bug was happening in a land far away. Or was it?
Doomsday bug, 3 in alert, here.
Ah, that's better. Now we've really got something to worry about.
Britain was on Do Watch Alert last night as 3 people suspected of having the deadly Ebola virus were taken ill. The victims, a woman and her 2 children, were rushed to an isolation hospital in London after hiding out in Hackney for 2 days.
We're doomed, quite doomed. But maybe we should listen instead to a rare note of sense from a real professor in a letter to the Times, penned more than a week ago.
Reports on the recent Ebola outbreak in Zaire may have given rise to unnecessary alarm. The virus is not really all that infectious, and airborne transmission is very rare. D.I.H. Simpson, the Queen's University of Belfast, Department of Microbiology and Immunobiology.
Just as well Prof. Simpson ain't a newspaperman. But what on earth could he have been making of another big story this week?
Imran,
42.
to wed Goldsmith girl.
21.
Not unlike the Ebola virus, Pakistan's Imran Khan apparently makes...
No secret of his penchant for milky white skin and blonde hair.
So said Annabelle Heseltine in an open letter to Imran's new wife, Jemima Goldsmith. This piece appeared in the Daily Mail, and sharp as a stiletto it was, too.
Are you quite sure you know what you're getting yourself into? Dear Jemima, I can understand better than many why you have fallen in love with Imran Khan. I, too, spent a good deal of time in his company for a while. His conversation was littered with sexual innuendo, and those dark brown eyes rarely ceased to twinkle. He was, if you like, a duskier version of an Ernest Worthington in the importance of being earnest, a man who was not quite what he seems.
This was a story for which I must accept some blame, having been first to punt it upfield. It seemed a charming enough yarn, handsome guy meets beautiful girl, that sort of thing. But it was not allowed to stay that way. By the end of the week, Imran and Jemima had been badgered so much that they accelerated arrangements and wed in Paris.
Don't they mecca? Lovely couple.
Is Jemima off to see her new father in Lahore?
From this
Ormley Lodge, the mansion of Tycoon Sir James.
That's Jemima's dad.
to this.
The teeming marketplace in Lahore where Pakistani women haggle with traders.
Shopping was not, though, the real problem. It was religion.
Blonde Jemima, daughter of Jewish financier Sir James Goldsmith, is converting to Islam to marry Imran.
42.
It means she will be expected to wear shapeless clothes in public with little bare flesh showing.
Jemima's new name will be Haika Khan.
Pronounced hooker.
Thank you, lads. By now, I was beginning to regret having started this story. Female writers seem particularly angry about this happy union, incredulous that a 21-year-old beauty could have snatched the heart of dashing Imran. In the Daily Express, Helena Spencer asked,
Can Jemima step behind the veil? Imran Khan's fiancée faces the culture clash of London high life and pious Lahore. She won't be able to pop out for a quick drink with her friends at lunchtime.
journalists can think of few fates worse. Despite Imran holding a shotgun in this photograph, there was no suggestion that it was needed for the wedding.
Imran in Pakistan.
Annabelle Heseltine was at her sharpest.
No doubt you believe love will win through, but in 6 years, or even 6 months' time, when you're pregnant...
Ouch!
For all that, I wish you the very best. Yours, Annabelle Heseltine.
The Express had found an expert,
Fakir Mohammed, Vice President of the Council for Mosques in Bradford.
and the headline writers remembered that Imran was a cricketer.
Cricket great Imran declares his love for 21-year-old Jemima.
Good catch, Jemima.
Singles make a quick run for cover.
A surprise declaration.
Cricket hunk is bowled over by lovely Jemima.
Imran, Court Goldsmith, bold Islam.
The Guardian? Yes, this story was followed by everyone, everywhere, in every way conceivable, if that is the word. For clichés, no one could beat the Times.
The fate that awaits Jemima. Jemima Goldsmith faces the shock of her life. The shackles of a strict Islamic society will clamp invisibly but firmly shut the moment she steps out of the very, very important persons, VVIP, section of Lahore Airport into the thick heat of the Punjabi summer. She will reel from a sea of whiskered taxi drivers.
It took a Swede to speak sense. Every day, the Daily Express sends a man out into the street and asks ordinary folk what they think of the latest.
Big is you.
It's an inexpensive stunt. Tuesdays.
Big is you.
Yes?
We asked our readers.
Would you swap religion for love?
Martin Vikstrom, tourist.
If I was offered the chance to marry Jemima Goldsmith, I would definitely change my religion. No one in Sweden would bat an eyelid if it happened there.
On Wednesday, thank goodness, we had a grown-up story.
Tories in new sleaze rumpers.
Ex-minister faces inquiry in Sleaze Row.
Tory MP in new storm over sleaze.
The Conservative Party was plunged into new controversy last night on the eve of a Commons debate on the Nolan Report into standards in public life.
Yes, sleaze is back, with headlines that might have been used almost any month in the past year. So who's the hapless MP this time, then?
Sir Jerry Wiggin, Conservative MP for Weston-super-Mare, admitted that he had tabled an amendment to the gas bill in the name of Sebastian Coe, MP for Falmouth.
Sir Jerry was asked why he used another MP's name and not his own.
I prefer not to. I think it gets misinterpreted by people like you. I prefer to get a friend to do it.
Who is this Sir Jerry Wiggin, then?
Sir Alfred Wiggin,
Alfred?
referred to everywhere but his birth certificate as Sir Jerry, has impeccable Tory credentials.
He certainly does now. And Sir Alfred, who clearly has trouble remembering names, may well go down as the only politician who sacrificed his career on behalf of caravans.
Sir Jerry is an advisor to the British Holiday and Home Parks Association, and his amendment related to the supply of gas to mobile homes.
Wouldn't there be more votes in an anti-caravan group? Austin of The Guardian drew a cartoon the same day which showed a line of lobbyists waiting in a Westminster corridor.
We're stuck behind the caravan lobby.
The following day, the Times attempted to put this caravan business in perspective.
Retirement parks and red tape led to Wiggin affair.
Mobile homes. The facts.
In a list of fascinating facts, we found out,
13 million people stay in a caravan or mobile home each year.
and
Mobile homes can cost up to £100,000, although most cost about half that.
truly gripping stuff. Sir Jerry, being a caravan man, likes his travel.
Travelling far further than his West Country constituency.
Oh yes, how far?
In the latest register of MPs' interests, he declares a trip last October to Hong Kong and Taiwan at the expense of their respective governments.
Which has earned him the nickname.
Junket Jerry! And last night, he was in South Africa.
With Sir Jerry out of the country, the papers were forced to try their man in absentia.
Slippery Jerry employed disgraceful underhand methods to try to change a bill in which he had a financial interest.
It was a brazen manipulation of parliamentary process for private gain.
It looked like a resigning matter, but Sir Jerry was beaten to it by a Guardian hackette in another story broken by a diary column.
Greer resigns as feminist war breaks out.
Greer quits Guardian Boys Club.
A battle between two feminists employed by The Guardian has led to the resignation of one of them, Germaine Greer. She withdrew her services as a columnist after the newspaper refused to publish a piece that it said degenerated into a personal attack on her colleague Suzanne Moore.
Girls!
The column was commissioned as a discussion on fertility and gynecological surgery.
That old circulation blaster.
But it described Moore as inarticulate, disloyal, and a lipstick feminist.
Apparently it was all because some book had suggested, wrongly, that Miss Greer, between you and me a very cross sister, had undergone a hysterectomy as a young woman. Moore was quoted as responding to that wrong claim. Germaine came over all unnecessary.
War of the women.
She has hair bird's nested all over, 3 fat inches of cleavage, and so much lipstick it must rot the brain.
Lipsticks at 15 paces as Greer claws rival.
Top feminists forget all their sisterly feelings.
Papers could not resist running pastiches of The Guardian's daily pass notes column. These two dearies deserved each other.
Pass notes.
Suzanne Moore,
Age.
36, she says.
Occupation.
Professional feminist.
Trademarks.
That Rasputin-like crucifix she likes to wear. She is also keen on 4-letter words and scatological references in private and, alas, in print.
Lean back and enjoy it, chaps.
Why men are gloating over sisters at war.
By Melanie MacDonough.
Nobody, of course, complains when men fall out, and that's because the sex has not made the fatal mistake of assuming that they have anything in common whatever as men. They haven't typecast themselves.
And that is what it always comes down to. Typecasting. Flesh-eating Ebola viruses, Muslim weddings, Tory MPs, ghastly feminists. Newspapers feel comfortable with stereotypes. Good night.